Hey, hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to our first open house of 2023 for our MSc program. I would ask at this point that you keep muted. There'll be plenty of time either through the chat box or, to unmute to have Q&A to talk to members of our staff or alumni. So let me just introduce myself. I'm Nick Theo. I'm the program manager and registrar for the MSc and PhD programs through Alef Trust. And with us right now, we have Francesca Hector, who is our community manager, and she does everything else. I don't know what your full title is anymore, but virtually everything behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. And currently, right now, we have Rosalind Crode, who's one of our alumni from the MSc program, and we're hoping to have one or two others join us today. So briefly, as I said, should you have any questions, we'd love to make this conversational. We think that's where you get the value instead of having us just talking on and on, is to get the experience about the MSc program. So briefly, it is a 3-year program, 2 years of classroom study, and then your third year is your research writing for your thesis. It's on a standard semester schedule just to differentiate it, because I realize now many online programs go on continually. This is set, you start in September, you end in early June, you're off in the summer, there's a break, midwinter and spring. So this also helps you for scheduling, because we have people from all over the world and you're balancing work, life, family commitments. So it becomes quite doable. I would say go ahead and start putting your questions out. At this point, I'm going to just turn it over to Francesco, who can just talk about the other facets of the MSc program beyond the curriculum, which is the community, because this is something we really strive to build. As much as it is difficult to do on an online distance learning platform, we really try to emphasize that so you build a community and eventually a professional network in transpersonal psychology. So I'm turning it over to Fran.
Thanks, Nick, and hello, everyone. Absolutely lovely that you're able to join us now. And the MSc program, Consciousness, Spirituality, and Transpersonal Psychology. Sounds like quite a title, and there's certainly a lot within that. And as Nick said, community is very much at the core, at the heart of Alef Trust. It's an international community, a diverse and international community with the students from countries around the world in different time zones, in different moments of their life as well. We have quite a varied range of ages, people participating, but everybody is very much brought together by a sense of wanting to participate in making the world a better place in whatever way that means to them, and through connection with whatever resources them in doing this. Community itself, it's a huge aspect of the program. You'll all have seen the academic program on the website. In the first year, the spiritual psychology module, approaches to consciousness, learning through integrative practice. And just looking at the first year, there are the pedagogical approaches of Alef Trust include reading and webinars and a lot of open spaces as well for dialogue, for questions and answers. There are tutor groups. Every student is placed in a smaller tutor group, which works with your time zone, and you'll have your tutor will work with you for pastoral support throughout the 3 years. Within the tutor groups, there are also the co-creative circles, which you're encouraged to join and participate in, to bring your feedback about what's your experience, what's working for you, and what would you wish to have more support? How can we support you, and how can you support each other as well? Because co-creating community can be challenging at the best of times, and in an online environment, there are a lot of possibilities of connecting, a lot of ways of connecting, and the infrastructures here become very important. There isn't a water cooler or a cafe where you can bump into. So like where are the spaces that we can meet up? After classes, maybe there's a space for connecting. Students are encouraged to set up WhatsApp groups to get to know each other through the courses, through the forums as well. And we also hold more informal community events online as well for all the Alef community. That's not there's your cohort group, and also for students who are taking other programs, and the alumni as well. I'm going to take a pause here and just to share also that I originally joined Alef Trust as a student on the MSc program. And I remember when I started, I was so shy, I couldn't even put the camera on when I was in the first webinar in September, and gradually something has evolved here. And it's very much a place where growth and potential is nurtured, and there is a lot of support also in other ways. Like I've mentioned the tutor groups. We also have a wellbeing officer who offers additional support. There's the academic learning support as well. Many people come to an MSc having been outside of academia for many years. That may be daunting, and that support is woven into the curriculum. And also there are additional resources built or co-created or set up in order to support this learning journey. And of course, at the end of the 3 years, it's certainly not goodbye, as students are invited to join our alumni community and keep in contact through regular meetups and other ways in which we keep in touch. So on that note, I'd like to ask Rosalind, who's one of the alumni of our program, who graduated recently. Ros, if you'd like to share your experience of the Alef community.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm excited for you to hear that you're considering doing this MSc. I just finished in July, I think, officially. And I would say it was one of the best decisions that I made. I came into this just with an interest in going back into academia, not because I wanted to be an academic, I just wanted to nourish these interests that I had. I was already dabbling around with consciousness stuff and had a curiosity. And I started in 2019. And so we all know what happened at the start of 2020. And so my experience ended up being a little unusual because I was doing it while the background of my life was sort of falling apart and restructuring. And I feel immensely lucky that I was a part of this MSc through that for the community. In some ways, having all the distractions of my life taken away was amazing to throw myself into the study. But I also realized just what a special community there is there, because of course all of us were having personal struggles, and Alef just went above and beyond to support all of us in getting through not just our MSCs, but with all the disruptions going on as well. And there's a few things that stood out to me about it. I I've heard about how other people have done degrees online. Alef sounds quite unusual because when I've heard about people talking about it being difficult to study at home or online, or saying how workshops are not run in a way that are very engaging, it was the complete opposite here. I guess because Alef's been doing this for so long, they were already, the whole program has been built up to be online. So there's a lot of consideration going into the way that we come together. And I never felt isolated from my classmates because they put so much effort into making an environment that you feel very supported in. One of the things that I did in my study that I'm really glad about is I found some of the papers at the beginning really challenging, especially when you start doing any of the papers related to consciousness. They're notorious for being one of the most difficult parts of the degree. And at that point, I set up a kind of like a study group. I just asked a group of students, if you're all struggling with reading these papers and understanding them, why don't we each week take one of the papers? And it was very relaxed. We just got together and said, do you understand what is being said? And we tried to dissect what was being said. But that really helped me through the degree as well. And since then, 2 times over, I set up 2 groups to work through our final papers. And we would just meet each week and talk and work on our papers. And they have become such good friends of mine. I was just in Austin a couple of months ago, visiting one of them in person. Some of us others have gotten together at the other events that we do that Alef hold for people to come together. And when I think about it, they've really become some of my closest friends because I think we came together over a common interest in the first place. So it just spread out to the rest of our lives. And when we call each other, we're talking about all of our lives beyond just the study alone. But I was thinking several times, I'm so lucky I got to meet these people because it's quite a unusual thread of interest, I think. But then when you get a group of people together who are interested in these types of topics, it's really powerful and special. So yeah, I have really positive things to say about it. Francesca, I was wondering if I should mention any of those things I said at the beginning about things I wish I'd realized before I began.
Maybe we could come back to that.
Sure.
That would be lovely to hear some of the voices of who's in the room as well. Just seeing the faces of those of you who've switched on your camera. Please, you're all very welcome to switch on your camera if you wish. And maybe you'd also like to use the chat to just type in where you're calling in from, whereabouts in the world you are. It'd be lovely to get a sense as well. London, Amsterdam, North Wales. Oh goodness, they're coming in fast. Malta, Oxfordshire, United States, Vancouver.
I was going to add to that, Francesca, this just reminded me that nearly every class we did or tutor group we had, just people were from everywhere. I remember doing a class and there's a guy like, I'm in traffic in Cairo, but I'm listening. But there's people from all around the world in this program, which is always a delight.
That's something I'd like to add. The richness, the diversity of our students. We have had students from more than 40 countries over the years. And the feedback we get from our students, how much they love that. They get to see, one, the similarity in the personal search. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or your background. There's this common path of understanding. And then in the meantime, you get to see how different cultures, different groups approach this. So it becomes really eye-opening that it's not centric to one culture or one group. It's getting to really see this from a holistic, global point of view. And that's another benefit of the program, the richness of that. I've noticed while we've been talking, another one of our alumni is here. So I'd like to turn it over to Olga and let Olga share her experiences with the program. Are you there, Olga?
Yeah, I am
Okay.
here. I don't know what to say. I can just support everything that Rose said. She said it beautifully, and I have very little to say. I want to ask for permission to jump to that other thing that Fran mentioned about things I wish I knew, because it kind of ties together with what I think is one of the most important things that I took away from the program. But I want to follow the right protocol. So you guys tell me, I'm too informal.
Yeah, maybe before passing to what you wished you knew, I'd like to open that question out to everybody in the room. What curiosities do you come with? What would you like to know about this program? What questions would you have? Okay, so George has asked in the chat window, for the recently graduated, how are you using your degree? That's a good question, Olga or Rose.
I can answer that to say it's a question I've been asked a few times. What are you going to do with that? A degree in consciousness? What? And I found the more I did the degree, I wasn't actually too interested in trying to measure that in a way that I had to show that I was working with it in a way that I was earning money. The reason being, the depth of material was just so immense and changed me in such a way. My whole perspective on the world has been enriched and affected that I thought it's so beyond that. However, I didn't come into the degree myself specifically trying to turn it into a vocation. I came out of personal interest, but I can say with two of my classmates who I'm still in touch with every month, we get together just to have conversations so that we can stay in touch. I was talking to them last night, and both of them are working as transpersonal coaches. Keep in mind, we just graduated in July, September, and one of them has 8 constant clients already. And another I know has just taken on her 4th. And I'm really amazed at how quickly they've set up their private practices that they wanted to get into. I also have a friend who is very interested in psychedelics, and I've been in touch with him because I have a group of friends who want to set up a sort of workshop space to utilize psychedelics with academic research. And so he's actually running a place in Portugal where he is doing like integration work, and amazingly through the degree, a whole bunch of things lined up where he got access to this property. All of these things were just falling into place, and he's hosting a really beautiful practice out there. So there's an interesting thing going on there that I was connecting those people together. So I've heard of really interesting projects like this popping up as well. So I'll let Olga explain what she's up to.
Oh yeah, yes. No, thank you. That is amazing, Rose. As you say, it is how you. Well, I found that too. That personally, I grew so much with the program, and how you find, and this is something that you also learn little by little. You know, in year 1, you know, when there's a module that everybody's in love with, the learning through integrative practice. Because you understand how all the little bits and pieces of your life, all the things that you always wish you could play with and learn a little bit about, you are welcome into the program, and then you are free in a way. You're given permission to learn more about your purpose in life, which is so amazing, and make that part of your academic journey. And for me, there's an aspect of myself that I was able to integrate so happily, the playful side of me, the child, and also the artist is so amazing the way, and I would encourage any of you, even if you don't have experience with art, but to bring art in some way or play in some way, because the way in which we can see that balance of darkness and light and how they come together, and your negative and positive aspects are, can reconcile. And I cannot think of any other masters that can help you do that. And sometimes for me the pressure sometimes felt huge, because I am a non-native English speaker, and of course the demands on that for writing, for expressing myself, I thought were huge. But the way in which the best and the worst of me came forward was such a beautiful opportunity to work with everything and to feel stronger when I graduated. So I decided to stay, and now I joined the PhD program, which is also amazing, something I never thought I would have done when I started this journey. So it's just, I don't have enough good things to say, and I'm so happy that Rose can say everything a lot better than me. But yeah, I guess that's it. The key things.
Olga, thank you. That's wonderful. And I don't know, Nick, maybe you'd like to add a few more words about other careers that alumni have gone on to?
Sure, briefly, because I do see hands up and I want to get to the part where we all start talking as a group. We have a diverse group of people who come from a very wide spectrum of academic and professional backgrounds. So just to add on from what Rosalind and Olga shared, we have people who come in from the business and corporate community. Frequently, almost every year, we get 1 or 2 HR managers, and their goal is to incorporate transpersonal methods and thinking into the workplace. And I've seen over the years where especially one of our students who was an HR manager in Prague, a paper she wrote, she had read it at a conference and was invited to start speaking at other conferences, and she converted it to become like a boutique business for HR to corporations. And that's what she does now. So taking this holistic transpersonal point of view when you're creating employee and worker relations. So that's one area. We have many people who come in, they're coaches, they're consultants, or they develop it. I usually tell people, be open to the experience of the degree, because when it was first created about 30 years ago, the intent all along is beyond the book learning, that success for us is that you as a student have gone through some form of inner transformative experience, and you find that it place from within you, and from that place, you project it through your career, through your ambitions. And I think we've seen a number of our students choose some very interesting directions. Sometimes something they've read or a paper they had written sparks an idea. And I was thinking, Olga, when you were talking about, because you're now in the PhD program, and when we first talked, that's probably about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. I don't think in that first conversation you were even considering a PhD. And this happens, that you really get into the topic of your research and you want to know more. And you end up going down that path. Other of our graduates, it builds a measure of confidence. You start seeing that they write articles, they do podcasts, they apply it in different ways. We have those from the performing arts and martial arts that they go in that direction too. So that's just like a brief spectrum. I do see we have hands up. So Martin, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
So hi, thank you for taking my question. I have a number of them, but mostly 3. So the first one would be, how often are classes being held? Like, is it once a week, twice a week? That's number 1. Second question is, In relation to the research as well as to the writing of the research, is this going to be a library research, or does it is it okay to do a field work, library research, etc., or maybe with patients, for example, in cases where we would be psychotherapists? And the third question would be, I noticed that there are a number of specialist options that one can take throughout the course. And in each year, one can take only up to 2. Is this enforced? Like, could I take 3 or 4, for example, should I decide to choose this master's, this MSc?
Okay, I'm going to answer your last question first because we get this so frequently. Everyone looks at the list and they want to take everything.
All very interesting.
You have to, the requirements you take 2, and what happens is our graduates come back, and you could come back as an open learner and take the other ones that you were of interest in there. And it's something we talk about here. Our graduates don't like leaving, and that's part of our community. And you'll see a number of them come back. They come back for certificates. They come back for open learning. So you just choose the 2 to focus on your degree. Now, as to working for your thesis, yes, you can do some field work, but ultimately you're going to have to get approval for your thesis. Not in all situations will it be where you can be bringing in patients, and that's because of our capacity in-house and our agreement with Liverpool John Moores University as to what we could cover, because generally we cannot cover things that fall into the medical field. And then the other side is bumping up against parapsychology. Whatever you're going to be working with should be within the boundaries of transpersonal psychology. Now, that doesn't mean a number of our students, they're interviewing people, they're putting things within that. There is a line there with therapeutic. Our course leader was supposed to be here today. Unfortunately, she's not. She would have been best able to answer that question in a far more articulate way than I ever did from there. As to the scheduling, I'd rather have either Rosalind or Olga speak to the pace, the rhythm of the webinars. So I'll turn it over to either one of you.
Yeah, I can answer that because I wanted to say that I remember looking at the schedule and thinking, oh my goodness, there's a lot of classes, but the great thing is they're recorded. What I ended up doing was watching a lot of them in my own time. It was great to be there in person as well, because often the classes are not maybe typical university classes in that we often open with a meditation. Depending on what papers you're taking, there might even be with some ones that have movement in them. It really depends on what is being studied. Then there are others that are very much looking at a presentation and referring to notes and readings you're going to do. But I found I could move the classes around a lot and do them because I was juggling it around work at the beginning. And it really worked out great because sometimes I was watching them at 11 p.m. The classes also move time zones. I don't know how Alef have worked it out, but they tend to hit time zones that I see people's faces popping up and I realize they're in a complete different part of the world from me. A friend in Australia was often in the same ones as me. So they seem to have found sweet spots. So it is really fine to watch them in your time. Sometimes I would stack them together and just do all my classes together in one go if I needed, and other times I liked to be there live just because the discussions were great.
Olga, how about your experience as to the timing rhythm of the webinars? I think Olga heard me. I'm coming from, generally it's about what, it runs about 1 to 2 webinars a week.
Yeah, something.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was talking and I was on mute and I didn't realize that. Sorry, Nick. But as Ross said, it is such an amazing benefit to have them recorded, because in my case, sometimes even if I was able to attend, but to see it again and to be able to pause and take notes, it is such a great benefit. So even in some weeks, if I was too busy with work, I could still make it the way that it suit me best. Even if there was a session, a class a week, I could just some weeks see 2 and some weeks see nothing. I mean, even that with the recording, you can really mix and match to make it any way that is convenient to you.
Okay, thank you. Just to add on, because I'm seeing some of the things coming up on the chat. Generally, we suggest that a student allot 13 to 18 hours a week on their studies. It will vary. And some is human nature. A lot of energy goes in the final week before papers due. I mean, people love to structure out, but it's always the last minute. And something, as Olga brought up, some weeks it's just reading. And that's why I say on average, it's 1 to 2 webinars per week. Some weeks you will not have any, other weeks you may have 2. We try to do different times to give people from around the world the opportunity to attend. So they're generally scheduled from about 10 in the morning UK time to about 8 in the evening UK time, though the majority tend to be afternoon and evening. So I just want to throw that in there. So let's, Lee, you're the next one up. Please unmute yourself. Thanks for being here, and just, go ahead, share your question.
Yes, I actually don't have a question at this moment, but what I want to share is that the reason why I am coming to this is because there are some realization that's happening within the self, and coming to this, I am looking for structure, for community, and for resources to help me execute what I have. And I just want to pass that on to humanity. That's the one thing that I want to do. And going back to the question earlier of what are we going to do with this degree, I think that there are so many ways that we can serve humanity and that we can give back and contribute to humanity. And as humanity evolves, certain things will change for sure, especially education, and especially education consciousness. It's essential, it's crucial to how we are moving forward as a human being. And I have talking about this, I can feel a lot of energy. But yes, that's what I'm looking for, and I feel that I am in the right place. I believe that when I am ready, then this opportunity just show up, and that's exactly how I found out about this program. And I'm excited. I hope that I will be able to attend. The only question I have right now really is the enrollment and the payment due. The personal statements and essay, I want to know specific steps of how to get it done. And also the payment due, when will it be due before the class starts? Yes, thank you.
Okay. You described the way a number of our students come in, the same thing. Something stirs within them. I've also found, in my experience over the years, there was usually some defining event 1 to 3 years prior to them enrolling that got them questioning their lives, what's next from there. So I want to say you're not alone in that. And yes, you're going to get your discipline. It's a Master of Science degree. It's not a Master of Arts degree. So you're going to get into the science of transpersonal psychology and consciousness studies. And just adding what was the intent when the degree was created about this inner transformative experience. Yes, there's the structure, there's the academic rigor, but within that would create that space for the change. So going on to your other questions, as to the tuition, it is a set fee inclusive for everything. So for those who are starting this year, it's £12,300. That's it, the one fee for the year. And the way the tuition payment goes, it's divided. You take that and divide it over 3 years, which is 4,100 pounds, and then you divide it again in half. So it's like paying by semester. So what happens is you apply for the program, there is a £100 fee. And should you be accepted in the program, we ask for a £400 deposit. And that will be against that first 2,050 pounds. So you do the £400 deposit, June, July, whatever. Then you would be invoiced in August. So by August 31, you would pay the remaining of the tuition. So that'd be 1,650 pounds. And then in February would come the second payment for the semester, and then replicate it in years 2 and 3. There won't be any increases because of inflation. This is the set amount you'll have for the 3 years. So from there, should you need some kind of alternate payment plan, then we would put you in contact with our finance manager to work things out, whatever agreement with there, and our course leader that's kept in confidence as to what goes on there. I also want to add, I saw something come up in the chat about scholarships. There is the potential for scholarship. What we have is a partial scholarship. The requirement is that you are accepted on the MSc program prior to June 30. When you do your application, you would state you would like to seek it. It pays up to 40% of the tuition, is renewed annually based on your performance. It looks at income needs, and the other criteria is what your intent is to do with the degree after you graduate, because this is coming from a private source, and that was their stipulation of how would this person aid, enhance, grow the field of transpersonal psychology. We have far more requests than we do have scholarships, so we do let people know it is highly competitive. We can't promise it to everybody, but as I said, those who are accepted on the program by June 30, they will be notified by the course leader, and then about August 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, everybody's notified as to who got the scholarship. So that would be for there. Now, your other questions, and I saw a couple of them also in the chat about the requirements for the application. So there's the personal statement and the essay. Now, we're also looking, these are to be written in academic format and referenced. Please keep that in mind. It is not a full descriptive paper, especially the essay. We expect it to be referenced. You are selling yourself. You're demonstrating that you're able to write. And for those of you who are not acquainted with the British system, in the British system, your grade almost fully falls on your essay. There are no quizzes, there are no tests. And with us, about 90 to 95% of your grade is on that final paper. So it's important. You don't want to be hobbled going into the program if you don't have that. As Fran explained early on, we do have resources for referencing academic writing, and we will introduce that. And we do webinars, and for those, attend them. Don't make life hard. Even if you haven't been in college or university for 10 or 20 years, attend that, or at least watch the recordings of the videos on referencing and writing. With that said, speak from your heart. The ones who are accepted in the program are those who can articulate why they want to be in the program. It's not as a filler. Sometimes people go for master's degrees to fill time. Those students are not the ones who are successful. We're looking the eagerness, something is stirring within them to learn more about who they are. As to the topic of the essay, we leave that to you. Some people take some aspect of their life and write it into an essay format. Others share a measure of interest or expertise related to transpersonal psychology in their essay. So include who you are with it. And I've always said this, one of the benefits in my job is I get to know your stories. And I've yet to find anyone who was boring. Each one of you has a really unique and special story, how you get here. And then I was commenting before we had started the session, when I look at all of you, when it comes time to graduate, I can see the changes over three and a half years. And it's a really nice feeling like that you found something within you. So by all means, begin your process in that way. Share who you are with that. Now, did you have, Lee, another question about the application? I'm trying to just go from my memory. I feel like I'm skipping something.
That's perfect. You answered everything. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Julia, go ahead.
Quite important to what Lee said, because there was a mistake I made when I made my application, and I think it's important to bring up, is that, you know, Lee saying about wanting structure, and I wanted to back up what Nick said, that it is an academically rigorous degree. And when I applied, I wrote my personal statement, and I didn't do, as Nick said, about putting in the academic references. It was more my story. And I actually got declined a position at the beginning. I was confused by this, and I called up the dean and spoke to him and asked if I could get feedback. And he explained to me, we need to see you as an academic, why you're interested in doing this in an academic sense, because we need to know you're prepared for this. And I told him more about my story. And I basically pleaded, if I can't do the degree, could I at least come to the classes? Even if I can't get the degree, can I come and do this another way? He said, I can see you're enthusiastic. I'll let you resubmit. But he pointed out, you do have to meet the standard. I ended up getting on the course, and it is quite hard work at the beginning. And I did go to the classes that Nick is talking about, and I got lots of feedback, and I ended up graduating with distinction. And the reason I want to tell you that is just to show you the place you can start from and where you can end up when you apply yourself, but also just to know, do take that part seriously, because Alef holds high standards, and it's a great thing if you're looking for that structure, because you'll really grow inside of it. But do, like Nick said, really look up what an academic essay would look like, what it requires, and yeah, don't make the mistake like I did.
Okay, thanks, Rosalind. Go ahead, Julia.
Hello. So I wanted to ask if it's possible to, apart from doing the master program, then in the second or the third year, do the coaching program, because it starts in February, right? So it's like the second half, because I ultimately wanted to work as a coach. And I have friends that are doing this program, and they told me that on the subject, there was like a lot of theory about coaching, but not enough like practical things. And I also would devote like a full time, so I would like study a lot and probably do optional things, like optional readings, and also so I would I would not work and have time to work just on that, because I know it's intense. Then would it be possible?
Yeah, yes. There is
Okay.
the possibility to do the transpersonal coaching psychology certificate concurrently with the master's. And the way it would happen, there in year 2, in the master's degree, the module in the spring of the second semester is applied transformative psychology. And one of the choices is transpersonal coaching psychology. And you can make the request at that point to join the year-long program. It will be based on your degree, on your grades up to that point if you'll be able to handle both. If that is the case, then you'll be brought on that, and also the majority of the certificate program would happen over the summer between years 2 and 3, and then within year 3 itself, when you're research and writing and studying for your master's thesis, so you don't longer have classes. Now, with that said, the research project you will do for your coaching degree, coaching certificate cannot be replicated for your master's thesis. So you're going to be doing 2 projects. So just keep that in mind. You can't copy, but yes, usually like 2 or 3 students do it every year. So when it comes time, like the winter of year 2, is to at first have a conversation with your personal tutor to see, you know, if it's doable, and then we put you in touch with the course leader for transpersonal coaching psychology, and we would work it through there during December, January of year 2.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Hey, Ricardo, you're next.
Hello, thank you. A curiosity I have is that I browsed a little bit through the modules, and I found the description a bit like a bit generic. Like I noticed I could see whatever I wanted in them. So I wonder if you could speak a little bit more of like the cultural or the academic context of the program, and maybe things like what questions bring together the faculty, what research methods, what academic lineage is there. And then a small practical question I had was like, what happens if someone start doing modules as an open learner and then later on develops an interest to do the master after they have already taken some modules?
All right. I'll answer your second question first, and I'll turn the first question over to Fran on there. We do have a number of our students come in through open learning, and the path we use where you could potentially get academic credit is to do in February spiritual psychology as an open learner, and take your 2 choices for options. And you would also opt and pay the additional fee to write the academic paper, which will be read and marked by 2 of our tutors. In the meantime, you would do your application for the MSc in the springtime, and we would take that work. Should you pass the essay, do the the forum work, you have to participate fully, because some open learners just come in, attend webinars, and that's it. But immerse yourself. It also gives, for a number of our students, a feel for the Alef Trust environment, to get the feel of it. And if they're called to go on, to stay for the full 3 years, then it's a matter, you just talk with me. We'll get everything ready for your application. You would apply for the master's as you would normally do, all the attachments, the essay, the reference letters, etc., CV. And then what will happen will be, if you're accepted on the MSc program and you successfully completed spiritual psychology, we will hold it to the boards for the following year with LJMU, and it'll be submitted at that time. So correspondingly, since you already did spiritual psychology, year 1, your second semester will be a rather light load. You would be just doing learning through a group practice. So that's one way of doing it. Other ways, and this goes back to our first question about deciding you want to do more than one open learning course, is to just take one, just to get the feel of what's going on. But if you're looking for potential credit, then it'd be just through spiritual psychology. And let me turn it over to Fran, who will get more into your first question about the lineage and background.
Okay, Ricardo, that is a great question. And the title of the MSc itself, Consciousness, Spirituality, transpersonal psychology. As you say, these are big topics. And one of the key aspects of this program is the opportunity for students to find their own way through this as well. There's a very participatory approach in that it's not purely intellectual. We also take into account more somatic, more emotional, more imaginal dimensions and the related research and literature. Consciousness studies is very much in the field of science. This is an MSc, it's a science degree awarded by Liverpool John Moores University, which is a reputable, internationally acclaimed university. So the leading edge research in consciousness studies is very much included in the course, in the program, and leading scientists in the field take part as guest lecturers as well. I'm thinking, right, recently in the consciousness module, we had guest lectures from Bernardo Kastrup and Ian McGilchrist. In transpersonal psychology, Jorge Ferrer and Glenn Hartelius gave guest lectures. And these are very much leaders in the field, papers that will be read within the relevant module and woven into the overall curriculum. There's a post-materialist approach to science and consciousness, which is the concept that consciousness is beyond the brain. It's not just in the mind. It's not just a aspect of materialism. It's wider. It's beyond this. And then there are this is giving very broad brushstrokes, and then each tutor will have made their own pathway through this. And with the larger courses, for example, like larger modules, like for example, approaches to consciousness, there are 5 tutors who participate, bringing different perspectives in, bringing in different approaches with which you can look at the main questions that are explored through the different parts of the modules. There's a module in learning through integrative practice based on the works of Ken Wilber and Jorge Ferrer, and during this module, students design their own integrative practice with the different modalities: spiritual, relational, mental, emotional, and physical, put together their own plan and work through this. It's it's within an academic framework, of course, so the outcome will be to write an essay which is graded according to certain criteria, but it's very much a personal journey through these modalities and through different lenses that come in. From the critical thinking is very much a part of all aspects of the program. In the second year, there's a research design module which prepares students to go on and put together their own research proposal and dissertation. It's research project in the third year, leading up to a research dissertation. I'm hoping that gives a little bit more of an insight. And if you have any more specific questions, then okay.
Right. Okay, we're coming up to the top of the hour. We have several minutes left. So if there are any other questions, I realize as we've been talking, and I thank you, Rosalind and Olga, for really jumping in there and answering the questions on the chat, because they were coming quickly. This recording, it's being recorded. We will send it out to everybody within the next 24 to 48 hours, for referencing. Should you have any other questions, please contact me. I know I've been in contact with a number of you. I recognize a number of your names. If you want to, more in-depth information or more questions that you may have, we've began accepting applications at the beginning of April, and we really urge applicants to have their applications in by June, because we have a fixed enrollment. We don't keep it open, for everybody, so we can't guarantee spaces once we get into later in July and August. I didn't look. I was talking. I can see the chat. Okay, the personal statement is write it in essay format. Optional if you would like to reference it, but do write it as an essay and not as an open-ended dialogue. We have received those in that sense. And I mean, as an essay, the standard in an essay, you write out the numbers from 1 to 9, and then you use 10 after that. Do not take shortcuts. You're not texting. I actually got one once a few years ago where it was a 750-word statement written as a text with all shorts and emojis. That didn't, obviously that person was not accepted in the program. But take your time, and if you have any questions as you're putting these together, by all means get in contact with me. I'm your resource person. Anything you need from the time of your application to your first day at orientation, that's my role. Talk with me. I will know the answer to it. I will find the person within our organization or the paperwork or anything that would be needed to help you with the application process. Anything else you'd like to add, Fran or Rosalind or Olga?
I just say to anyone who does decide to apply, I'm excited for you. And the thing about it that I think made it really special is you are doing this academic research and this academic study, but inside of that, a huge part of the program is a personal journey. It's even woven into the papers that you're taking. One of the ones that we just said before, the LAP, learning through integrative practice, is about looking at academic theories, but then you're putting yourself as the subject and you are exploring the effects of things on yourself and your own personal journey. So it's a very special process to go through, and I am personally very happy I did it. I'll be excited for any of you who are going to begin this to see where you find yourself in 3 years.
Okay, thanks, Rosalind. Just answer the last question as to reference letters. Yes, have your referees email me your reference letters directly, not as an addition to your application as one time. And if there's any questions, again, just get in contact with me. But please ask your referees to send them to me. I will stay in contact with you. Let's say a week, 10 days go by from your application and I don't see the reference letters, I will dialogue with you because your application needs that before it could go through its formal review process. All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Look forward to receiving your applications in the upcoming weeks and continue our dialogue. So thank you again for attending. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.